What is up, team? Welcome back to the Red Storm Rapid Reaction Podcast. I'm Pat Kane. Tonight, I'm joined by the brothers Not So Grim. That's Cole and Sean Latshaw. And the three of us are discussing St. John's, the 8-1 in the Big East St. John's, the St. John's Red Storm that came back from 16 down in the second half. Again, the comeback kids do it once more time. And I don't know, Cole said you were nervous. You said you're pretty nervous the whole time. I was cool as a cucumber that second half. It felt like it was coming along. Maybe that's because I was fast forwarding through the commercials, playing on rewind, but I was able to stay calm. St. John's does it again. Cole, Sean, your immediate thoughts after St. John's nice comeback win against Xavier tonight?
That's the positive Pat in you, unlike the negative Nancy Cole, where I'm just always waiting for the other foot to drop with my St. John's fandom. Like you said, down 16 in the second half. I think it was about like the 13-minute mark remaining in the second half, and you saw St. John's flip a switch defensively and look like a total another team. It's incredible when they're playing top-notch defense. And we should also add beating an Xavier team that was really hot, having won 5 in a row, beating a great Marquette team, and without Davon Smith, who thankfully we were able to get this win on our home court, give him some time to rest that shoulder. Hopefully he's okay now with a week off before we have to face Georgetown. Just an amazing, gutsy performance. Kadari Richmond with the game that St. John's Twitter has been asking him to have since Mike Rapoli paid him a fat sack of cash. Absolutely tremendous performance. That kid has ice water running through his veins. It doesn't look like anything ever affects him on the court. Like Donnie Marshall said, when he wants to be, he's the best player on the court against any team in the nation. Kadari played an amazing game, and I couldn't be happier for him. Led the team in plus-minus at +11. RJ struggled mightily in the first half, but played a great second half, minus a few key turnovers. Zuby similarly kind of struggled, was kind of invisible in the first half. Fremantle really feasted. And then Zuby finishes with 16 and 8. Simeon had a pretty good night shooting, 5 of 10. Just Ruben Prey giving you good minutes again. I just couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier because, again, me being my pessimistic self, I was ready to chalk it up as a loss and be like, all right, trying to figure out how we're going to get to that 23-win magic number that I have. But I should never doubt Rick Pitino. I should never doubt this team. Just incredible. I couldn't be happier right now.
All right, so tough first half for St. John's shooting-wise, tough first half for Cole and the emotions. Sean, were you holding together? Were you confident throughout?
Yeah, so today's show brought to you by nitroglycerin pills. So hopefully everybody cardiac is okay at home there. I think what you saw kind of when we got down was a team that does all the little things right in Xavier. Making all the right passes, finishing at the rim. St. John's obviously struggled with a couple of bunnies and stuff like that, really uncharacteristic stuff. I thought all of our sets looked good. A couple of our defensive rotations, you kind of saw, rotation 2, 3, 4 all looked good. And then right at the end, kind of that fifth and last rotation, we kind of left or got caught sleeping. Obviously in the second half, guys really pulled it together. Sim, a nice confident game for him. I think that makes a huge difference for Sim when he's really playing confidently. Kadari, what can we say about Kadari? I think if you could harness that aggressiveness that we see from RJ and that kind of attacking the basket and things like that, I think if we could just implant that into Kadari, like Cole said, Donnie Marshall had mentioned on the telecast, he's the best player on the floor when he wants to be. And, I know part of the narrative is going to be, oh, well, Kadari plays this well with Davon off of the floor. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think what we see from Kadari, he can get what he wants from a secondary break, from a half-court offense, from things like stuff like that, all things that aren't necessarily like precluded by playing with Davon. I mean, Davon wants to push the rock, but, if we get into a secondary break, if we get into a half-court offense, Kadari, when aggressive, can feast in those situations, and I think we saw it tonight, and thankfully they pulled out the win. But I know everybody's heart rate kind of got a little high there throughout the game. But
I agree 100% about what you said there, Sean, about the two of them coexisting and the ways you can continue to get Kadari included, even if he's not bringing the ball up the court. I mean, 95% of the possessions tonight that he brought the ball across half court started with him just handing it off or entering into the elbow. It's not like it's necessary for him to dribble into some sets or to hold it for 25 seconds. That's not how this offense runs. What's more important is the two of them getting more and more comfortable together, and I think we were getting there. That's really the biggest bummer about Davon being injured or Davon potentially missing some longer time. One, he's a phenomenal player, but two, it seemed like we were getting to a point where the two of those guys had a lot better chemistry than we saw earlier in the season. And he's a different force defensively too. Like Simeon, I thought had a really good game defensively for the most part. By and large, there was a few blow-bys, but you're playing against a team with Xavier with a lot of guards and some quick guards, some strong guards. You get caught on some switches against not your normal matchups, and I thought for the most part our perimeter defense was pretty stellar. Refereeing is a tough job in the Big East, and tonight I think everybody left that game thinking they got screwed. I think they could have probably called a foul on every single possession. Somehow it took forever to either team to get in the bonus in the first half, but no harm, no foul, I guess. Do we owe those refs some thanks tonight, or were we on the lesser side of the calls?
Nah, it's just an old school Big East battle. You were talking about Simeon. I thought he shot the ball well. To your point, I thought he played really good defense out on the perimeter. Not to be overly critical, but I did think we saw glimpses of last year's Simeon a little bit with some bad turnovers. I think when we were about down 9, there was a really wonky pass to Zuby trying to feed the big man in the paint where he kind of just threw the ball out of bounds, trying to lead Zuby out of the paint or what was going on there. And then obviously the play where he had the ball at half court and threw the ball then at Kadari's shins. I think Rick was yelling at him that he wanted a handoff pass there, but Sim stepped up in Davon's absence, which I was happy to see. But Aaron Scott struggled a little bit. We talked about him the last 2 games and how he really had contributed despite not shooting the ball well from deep, is really starting to contribute a lot defensively, even when he had contributed well there previously, but even was really stepping up defensively. I thought he had a rough game, obviously fouled out. Only 5 points. One person I'd love to hear you talk about that hasn't gotten a ton of love from us so far this season. I thought Vince Iwuchukwu gave us some great minutes in limited spell in that first half when we were really struggling. Some nice free throw shooting, nice touch from the line.
He does have a nice touch.
Yeah, nice basket down low, nice blocks. Some good rebounding. I thought Vince looked really good in limited minutes. And then Ruben, we've been talking about him a lot lately. Obviously got some extended minutes today with the short bench minus Brady and minus Davon. But I thought Ruben looked good again, especially in the second half in his minutes. A little bit in the first half, you could tell that Xavier was hunting him when he was on the court defensively, trying to get him in matchups, specifically against guards, like away from the rim or like in the paint. But growing pains, like we mentioned before, if we have Ruben for 3 or 4 years, I think he's going to be a tremendous player with some off seasons and working directly with Rick Pitino. But
Vince, 5 points in 6 minutes. It was a nice spurt offensively there. There was a point I felt where he did kind of like block Simeon on his own putback attempt. They kind of both went forward. I thought Simeon was going to have a putback opportunity, and they got in each other's way there. He doesn't protect the rim enough for me for just being a 7'2" big guy. It bothers me. I mean, he did have productive minutes tonight, but I think Prey, even 2 or 3 inches shorter than him, does a better job standing up tall and taking up space.
Well, we talked before, it might have been with Dave and Frank in the preseason, but it's very weird for a 7'2" sort of lanky, skinnier guy that he doesn't really have the explosiveness off the floor that, say, a Zuby does. So to your point, doesn't really protect the rim for somebody that's 4 inches taller than Zuby, nearly as well as Zuby has this season.
Yeah, but offensively, he does some things that make you think he could be a productive, like 10 to 15-minute guy, like against high major stuff. Like just roll hard to the rim, be a threat off on the offensive glass, and then do your best on the defensive boards and see if you get more and more comfortable defending these screens, because he's the one that I feel like is most noticeably not even inside, just like a step or two slow in terms of knowing if we're switching, knowing if we're staying put, and then seemingly baskets around the rim seem to happen when he's on there a little bit more than when it's Prey or Zuby, just from my personal opinion from watching so far this season.
And I think for sure with both Ruben and Vince, you see a lot of kind of like that, I know Vince has been around and stuff, but like kind of those first year kind of jitters where it seems like they kind of want to do a lot before they're even kind of ready to. I mean, I know Ruben kind of had a couple of really shaky passes, kind of where he kind of got the ball and like immediately kind of wanted to get rid of it. But I thought the minutes were good. I thought they rebounded really well. I mean, for as much talk as we talk about Vince and not defending the basket, he did have that awesome block. He's long, he's lanky, he's, I mean, athletic to at least some degree. I thought Ruben really rebounded the ball really well. I thought those were really advantageous minutes from both of those guys for us. And I think more than anything, that portends very well going forward for us. As front court depth becomes more and more of an issue going forward.
If either of them takes half the leap that Zuby did from their first to second year under Rick Pitino, then you're in really, really good shape up front.
Yeah. I think I think Prey's going to really take some leaps and be a serious player. I just saw this stat while you guys were talking. I think it's unbelievable, worth note. Kadari tonight, all right, we noticed the 19 points, the 7 rebounds, the 5 assists, the 3 steals, the 1 block. Played 44 minutes, 0 turnovers.
Incredible.
0 turnovers from him without Davon against a physical Xavier team. 44 minutes of a game where we're pushing the pace late and we're playing up and down. It's a testament to the game he had tonight and what we needed from him. And thank God he delivered. Kadari.
I mentioned it was his best game at St. John's. I think that's the best stat of his best game at St. John's, is having 0 turnovers in that amount of minutes without Davon really doing the lion's share of the ball handling responsibilities. That's incredible.
Yeah. Particularly kind of in the first half when we really kind of saw Xavier kind of pack it in defensively. And you saw a lot of that kind of like they were really kind of trying to junk up the lane a little bit. And a lot of that, and that's what Kadari does well. There's those little like pocket passes when he's being aggressive and driving. And that was kind of what they were doing well in the first half, Xavier defensively. I mean, I didn't even realize that 0 turnovers. That's incredible. Yeah.
Zuby, another big game, kind of started slow, but finished with 16 points, 8 rebounds, a steal, an assist. Against a tough matchup. I mean, Fremantle's a player that can finish around the rim. He's tough. He's strong. Pretty sure me and him went to middle school together, and he's been around forever. Tough guy from New York, and Zuby matched him up physically. I think outplayed him late when we needed to. And Zuby just keeps doing it day in, day out. He's been the most consistent guy in the roster. Unbelievable season, unbelievable talent. It was good to see him hit some free throws that were important, front end of one-on-ones late, especially. I love to see him just finally get over that 69% hump of the free throw line he's been at this year and just get into that 75% territory because he lives there. But maybe that's too much to ask. Maybe that's next year's improvement.
Fremantle, super crafty player too. Like had 10 points at halftime and really looked like he was really feasting. And that was going to be a tough matchup for the rest of the game. Only finished with 14 points, so really tightened up with the screws on him in the second half. I wanted to ask you a player that you have been praising for the last couple of weeks now, Jaden Glover. I thought, again, he looked really good defensively, like you have been praising, but I don't know what's going on with his shot. He doesn't really move around very much on offense. It's kind of just standing out there by the 3-point line. You could see even at a few points, Xavier kind of sagged off of him and lost track of him to the point where he was being left wide open. I can't recall. Has he had his hand wrapped all season long? Because
not all season, but
because he did have a thumb though injury in the preseason that was holding him out for practice for a little bit, I believe. And I'm curious if that's the same hand that now all of a sudden he's got the thumb wrap, because I think his shot's kind of been off. Obviously, we all know that it's been talked about preseason and in his recruitment that he's such a tremendous 3-point shooter, and we see how true the form is. But I mean, his shot's been off now for a couple weeks. I think. Obviously, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get Davon back soon and we don't need some additional guard depth. But he's been thrust into a position with these injuries. And if he's not doing anything offensively, if he's not hitting his shots, he's a plus on defense. That much I can agree with. But I think we need more from him offensively. And I'm worried seeing that hand wrapped, whether or not that's the same thumb injury that he had previously.
Yeah, well, the shot does look great and he's got the reputation, but you got to make them, as you said. once in a while, and he's in a little bit of a slump. I say this seriously. I think Lefteris can contribute. I think he can give us 5 or so minutes, and if he's playing well, more than that. I think he's got a really good size, and his IQ stands out immediately. And we know he can shoot the basketball. So I'd like to give him a look.
And to your point on
not at the expense of Glover, but I think
to your point on IQ, like obviously Rick agrees with you and trusts him in that. Like we had, I think it was an overtime,
to get the ball
important full court, exactly, needed to get the ball in, and brings him in for literally just for that purpose. So he's obviously a super heady player. Then Rick is in agreement there. I'm in agreement with you that I'd be fine seeing Lefty get a little bit more minutes, a little more burn.
Yeah. Just to go back to Jaden Glover, I think it's going to be a fascinating case study going forward. We know Rick isn't too fond of playing freshmen, but I mean, Jaden Glover does two things well. He plays on the ball defense and perimeter defense extremely well. And he has the reputation of being a shooter. Those are two things that we know Rick finds minutes for out of his players. He wants shooters. He wants guys who can defend. So it's going to be fascinating to see that dichotomy there, where it's like, yeah, he doesn't want to play freshmen, but this guy is doing, obviously he needs to start getting the threes to fall. And I put him kind of in the same category as Sim, where like, the jumper looks pure. I think, and he's missing small, we would say, for shooters. I mean, I think, it's going to be fascinating to see what Rick kind of does with him in the context of, we need shooting. We know he has that within him, and we know he can defend. And those are things that Rick finds minutes for, if those are things that you can do. So I think that'll be fascinating to see going forward.
Yeah, well, I think we were 1 for 12 tonight from 3. Simeon being the only one there, and that just puts you at such a slim margin of error, and we've been able to overcome it. But man, it'll be a lot easier if we get some guys to make some shots, and Glover's a really good option there. I think it goes back to the Creighton game was where I first noticed it, and there was 2 big threes by Ashworth that happened when Glover was in. Those were both off offensive rebounds where he lost them in that scramble second. But up until that point and everything leading up to losing him off those offensive rebounds, which hurt us big time, and there were mistakes that he got pulled for. But the on-ball defense, the awareness, the effort really was kicked up a notch. And since then, it's followed through. And if it wasn't for those 2 offensive rebounds by Ash that led to those Ashford threes, I think we would have been praising him then. We might be undefeated in the Big East. But maybe that was the lesson we all need to learn. And I think he hit a 3 the previous game to tonight. But it just looks too good. And our problem is we don't really get used to moving the ball around and finding shooters because we don't have a lot of guys who are catch and shoot 3-point shooters. Like there was an obvious play tonight, and this is RJ we're talking about, who, is going to the rim. He's going to the rim hard. He drove into 3 guys, lost it for a jump ball or something like that, and he had Glover sitting right there in the wing, just sitting there. Like you could see him in the replay just waiting for the ball like this. And it's been like 2 or 3 instances this year where Glover in particular was waiting for a reversal from RJ that just never came. So I think it's part of it is just our team doesn't recognize when shooters are open, they need it quickly. And then it's just a guy who's not getting consistent minutes and is yet to really break through as a full-time shooter yet or a full-time contributor.
One other person, quote unquote, multiple people I want to shout out is the fans that showed up today. 14,000 plus on a random Wednesday in the middle of January. That's awesome for a game against Xavier. And Xavier, I'm sure, doesn't have a huge fan base, a huge alumni base in the middle of Manhattan. They got loud. That place was rocking when it needed to be, when St. John's was making that comeback. Yeah. And I think tip of the cap to every single person, every fan that was in there making that place loud, giving St. John's a real true home court advantage. It's just awesome to see, and something that me and Sean in our 20 years of fandom have been dying to see this team, this program, this organization, this be like this, and this city really come around this team, and it is so great to see. And I'm sure Rick Pitino loves it. He knows he's bringing in fans one by one, getting everybody back on board, and it's awesome to see.
Absolutely. We saw like a bunch of young kids at one point in the TV timeout. They showed like 6 or 7 young St. John's fans, and imagine being there tonight, witnessing this comeback. How cool
fan for
would
life.
Have been. Oh, for sure, man. Oh, for sure. And anyone who wasn't sold tonight is now sold. We probably took a few Xavier fans home with us. We'll take any of them we can get,
And I was in the building when we beat Pitt with the Dwight Hardy, dancing on the baseline.
Sure.
And I remember being with my buddy, and he's like, did you feel the ground shake? Like we were kind of like we were in the rafters, and we kind of felt like unsteady, like how crazy it was there. And just to see it kind of get back to that point is unbelievable. I did have a grievance to air, though. I know that marketing department there, they put together that giveaway with the black jerseys, and there was like a free food voucher or something like that. It was like $20, which buys you like a Coke at the Garden or something. But regardless, so they gave away these awesome black jerseys. They're sick, right? They're really nice jerseys. And then we're wearing white, and Xavier's in all black. And
right, I noticed that too.
Kept showing the stands, and it was like all these kids in these fresh black jerseys, and Xavier's in all black. I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, we can't get them all right. I guess we're still learning some stuff.
Yeah, but good job on their part for sure.
Ed Cole will get them there. Give him time.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're 8-1, 17-3, number 20 in the rankings. Probably going to move up. We don't play again until next Tuesday after the next rankings get dropped. Going to Georgetown. Got to win on the road. Already took care of business against them at home, but similar to tonight, they took a big lead. We climbed back late and finished them off. But talented enough team to beat you, especially in their home court. Who knows if they'll be fully healthy? I don't know, Cole. Do you have an update there? You were saying something?
Sorber and Epps played last game, so you got to
play last game. Sure, yeah.
They're back to being healthy.
All right. Any other final notes, fellas, before we wrap this up?
I've been saying now for a couple weeks that 23 wins is kind of my magic number to where you don't have to sweat anything out during the Big East tournament. I think there's a clear path. You just got to keep winning. You beat Georgetown at their place. You got another winnable game at home against Providence, and then you really get into the meat and potatoes of the schedule with games against Marquette, UConn, Creighton. But if you take care of business before then, if you do a clean sweep in January and then win that first game of February against Providence, you can realistically get to that 23-win season prior to the Big East tournament without having beaten a Marquette.
Sean, will you slow this guy down? Sean, slow this guy down here. What are you trying to do?
I thought you were supposed to be positive, Pat. What's going on, man? Now you want to rain on me, bringing the positivity?
One at a time here.
I've learned after the first 27 minutes of gameplay today, I've learned not to doubt this team anymore, not to doubt Rick Pitino, not to be my typical St. John's negative Nancy, waiting for the other shoe to drop. This team
water Cole, man. That's him.
Nope, not anymore, man. This team has got me believing.
New rain. That's what they keep saying in the building there.
All right, fellas. Well, Cole, thanks as always. Sean, thanks again. We'll see more of these two guys as the season goes on. For Rob Thomas, not Matchbox 20, this has been the Red Storm Rap Reaction Podcast. I'm Pat Kane. That's Cole. That's Shaw. That's Sean. That's Shaw. Peace.